Welcome everyone. Do you ever feel like you're being stretched 100 different directions? Probably because you're saying yes to a lot of different people, but you still feel like you're failing the people or the priorities that matter the most to you, you know? And that could show up in a bunch of different ways. Well, we want to unpack that with you today. We want to offer you this thing that's called the clarity compass. And it's how you stop swerving, into help every single person along the way, but actually stay in your lane as you move forward. So we want to unpack that today with you. Now, this is day 7 of our ultimate 25 days to ignite your spark. Now, you may be brand new to the channel, or maybe you're just tuning into the channel or the videos. Well, this is day 7. And I would recommend that you go to the playlist on the channel or you go to the other videos and you start with day 1 and work your way through, simply because they do build on each other. There might be things we talked about today where we allude to stuff that happened in previous days. It might be good for you to have that. It's about taking the full 25 days that really ignite your spark so that you can have the best year next year. So even though it is December 7th that we're recording this, if you choose to watch these on different dates, that's perfectly fine. Now, if you have been around for the other videos, if you've watched every other day, then this is 7 day. Like, this is 1 full week that you've shown up every single day, even if you felt tired or distracted or stretched thin, and truthfully, like, that matters way more than you think. Like, it marks a turning point for the rest of the journey. Like, once you get past those 7 days, like, man, things are just going to keep ramping for you. For the first 6 days, we did a lot of that internal work, right? Waking up out of autopilot, helping you see where you've been, how have you actually been living your life? Reframe and rewire beliefs and the failures that you've had, starting to heal through reconciliation of what you have from you. And then, freeing yourself from the comparison game that's out there. And that was all a part of what we call the shift phase as a part of finding your spark. All right. Now that's the internal reset is a part of that shift. So today we're stepping into something new. We're stepping into what we call the prioritize phase. And that's where clarity turns into real action, because here's the truth. You already, probably know this deep down in your bones. You can understand yourself deeply. You can heal old stories and reclaim your timing, but if you don't know what actually matters to you, what deserves your yes and what deserves your absolute, do not need to do that thing, life is still going to pull you 20 different directions. And you're going to end up scattered and exhausted and wondering why you feel so busy all the time. Most people don't struggle with clarity, right? They struggle with too many priorities that were never theirs in the first place. And so they're trying to do everything and be everything to everyone, saying yes to every request, trying to keep up with every expectation. And in the process, they're nowhere fully. They're never showing up fully authentically as themselves. They're swerving across all the lane lines in the road, hoping that something sticks. And I get it, because I've lived it. And so we want to unpack that deeper and deeper. I'll never forget December where I felt like I was tired of doing it all. I was trying so hard. The parties we would go to, the work event, the obligations, the shoulds. You should be doing this. I just kept saying yes to things because I didn't want to let people down. I love this time of the year. And by Christmas morning, I know when I was there, and you may have felt something similar where you feel depleted. You can't even enjoy being with your family. You're there physically, but not emotionally. You're gone, right? And that's where you have these moments of realization. For me, where it's hey, trying to do everything means that you end up missing the things that matter the most to you. So that's when, I started focusing on these ideas that people have around the clarity compass. And it changed my relationship of time and commitments and energy, where I'm going to put, we only have 3 currencies in life: time, energy, and money. Well, money, I can make more money or spend money to do things, but time and energy, those are true currencies that I either need to gain more time or I'm going to spend time in specific areas. See, you don't need more hours in your day. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a better planner. You need a filter. You need a simple and clear way to be hey, this matters, that doesn't. This gets my eyes, that can wait. And that's what we're doing today. We're going to identify your top 3 non-negotiable priorities. And these are the things that actually move your life forward, not just the things that you shout the loudest. We're going to turn them into this clarity compass so you can stop swerving across all those lanes. And you're going to learn how to protect those priorities from the constant demands that are trying to pull you every which way. That shows up in so many different ways as a parent or an entrepreneur or even you're an employee working, away in your 9 to 5. You want to be more present with your kids. You want to, you're trying to chase every opportunity that the business arises. You want to say yes because you want to be the team player, whatever that means. This tool is going to help you change things. It's going to help you to actually prioritize the things that matter the most to you. Now we're going to dive deep into that. I usually do this at the top of the video, totally forgot to, but I always say welcome to the Giver Method channel. If you are new here, my name is Jake Talbert, and if you're back for another video, welcome back. Super excited you're here. Now I'm the founder and author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. It's available on Amazon right now. You can get yourself a copy. Right now it's on sale because we just hit our 1-year anniversary of it being out, and it has helped thousands of people to make impacts in other people's lives, to create, discover their gifts and superpowers, create more impact, more value for the people around them, have better relationships, and live more fulfilled lives. So right now, because we just hit our 1-year anniversary, it is on sale on Amazon. You can get it for as little as $2. I think it's $2 to $10 based off the version you get. So I'll put a link in the description where you can go get yourself a copy, maybe buy someone else a copy, because truthfully, when you put these principles into play, like, it will change your life and how you show up for the people around you. I said, I've lived the burnout. Like, everything in here is grounded in the fact that I understand, as a parent, an entrepreneur, someone who's worked away in that corporate sea of cubicles, you can't burn everything down and start from scratch. You know, you can't just move to the woods to go find yourself. So this is all about discovering, like, okay, well, how do we move past that? How do I take the action items, exercises, worksheets, everything that's in here, and put them into motion so that you can actually make the changes in your life and the life that you're already living? When I was in that burnout, like, I know it comes from trying to be everything for everyone, you know? But I also know the freedom that comes when you're in your lane and you stay in your lane. And so that's what day 7's all about. You know, so think about it this way, like, you know, this is the first day of the priority phase. Once again, if you want to dive deeper, go get yourself a copy of the Giver Method. You can go follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, under the handle of the Giver Method. You can also check out thegivermethod.com, get on our newsletter list, check out our free resources. I'll include a couple of them down below in the description, to like the survivor mode assessment and the, we'll do like the Giver's Roadmap. But you can get on our newsletter list, check out the things at thegivermethod.com. Also, if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, someone to kind of guide you down the path, who's walked that path same as you, check out the coaching link below. If you have a stage, a podcast, an event, any sort of audience where this message would benefit them, then let's talk about how we can bring it to them in a real way. There's a speaking and podcasting link down below as well. And then let's make sure we do all the YouTube-y things. Subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, like the video, and comment your thoughts as we're going. Now, with that, let's just get into it, and let's talk about how you stop swerving all over the place and find your lane and stick with it. Let's really get deep into this so that you can make that change and make next year the best year ever. So the first thing we want to focus on, the first area or principle, is that you have to find your real priorities. These are the 3 things that actually deserve your energy. And if we get honest, like, if you just sit back for a second and think to yourself, like, most people never stop long enough to figure out what actually matters to them the most. They react to whatever's coming at them the loudest. Well, I can be really loud, but that may not be the thing that you need to focus on. You know, the email pings, the kid that needs something right now, the boss that suddenly has a quick question, the holiday event that, somehow got multiplied overnight. And because everything feels so urgent, nothing feels important. And so that's why this first one's so important. Like, it's why we're identifying the top 3. Like I said, what are these top 3 things, non-negotiables, that if you protected them for the next 30 days would make you feel more aligned, more grounded, and way less scattered. Not things that you feel like you maybe should care about. Not the things that other people think are important, but the things that actually matter to you in this season of your life. Once you know what those priorities are, not the pretend ones, not the Instagram reel approved ones. It's like, no, once I know what mine are, everything becomes easier. Decisions are lighter. Boundaries, you can just make them clearer. And any guilt around saying no starts to loosen itself. So let's walk through that. So we're going to start by, putting out what these priorities are. We're going to discover what they are. So a couple steps we're going to go through. The first one, we just want to brain dump the chaos. This is where you grab a piece of paper, open up the Notes app on your phone, whatever it may look like, and set a 3-minute, maybe 4-minute timer. And you're going to write down everything, and I mean everything, that's pulling on you right now. I've got kids, I've got work, I've got marriage, I've got projects, health, holidays, obligations, expectations, whatever. If it's tugging at your attention, put it down. Don't organize it, don't judge it, don't try to clean it up, just brain dump. We're just getting it out there. Most people are shocked at how long that list starts to get, especially when you're like very specific. But that right there explains why you feel so stretched thin, because you've been carrying so much around in your head. Then the second step, you're going to ask yourself the, it's the morbid thing, but it's like the deathbed question. And yes, really, like, you look at the list and you're like, hey, if I were at the end of my life, looking back at this season, what would I wish I would have protected more? Not what looks impressive, not what other people praise you about, but what would you regret not giving your attention to? And it cuts through all the noise instantly, because it reveals what matters to you beyond this month or this year or this holiday season that we're in right this moment. For lots of parents, it might be presence with their kids. Entrepreneurs, it might be, building their business in a way that actually feels meaningful, not rushed or frantic. As employees, it might be protecting your evenings, or protecting your mental health. Circle the ones that hit your chest the most, that you're like, oh my gosh, like, those are going to be the clues to what we're leading towards. And then the third step, you're going to ask yourself this alignment question, like, when I invest in this, Does it make me feel more alive or more obligated? Because some things matter really deeply to you, even when they're hard to do. Some things drain you, but they look so good and easy on paper. So this step, it helps you separate like what actually fills you from what keeps you busy. You know, keep the ones that give you alignment, not guilt or pressure, and then choose your top 3. You narrow it down, like, okay, we don't want 10 or 5 or 7, like whatever. We want just 3. And the reason for 3 is because like you can realistically protect 3 things. If you try to do 10, you can protect none of them. Just pick the 3 that should, you know, the 3 that are meant for you. Like they should touch different parts of your life. So there should be like, what's one priority for the relational? You know, your family, your marriage, your friendships. What about your purpose, like your work, your calling, your contribution? And then like you've got that personal one, which is like your health or your mental well-being or your spiritual groundedness. You know, some examples would be like, you know, hey, being present and connected with my kids, building my business with integrity and impact, protecting my mental and physical energy. Once again, they become the North Stars for the month. And then you can test them with this sort of a filter. Like, think about it this way. It's like, okay, well, is that actually one of my top 3? It's like, okay, if I protected only these 3 things this month, would I feel more aligned with what matters the most? And if yes, then you nailed it. If no, maybe we need to tweak it a little bit. Find that full body yes that comes with when you find the right ones. And then the 6th thing is like, you name what's not on your list. You look back at that brain dump. You know, what didn't make the cut because it's bad. You know, because it's not one of your priorities this month. You know, spotless house. You know, being at every holiday party, keeping everyone happy, climbing the corporate ladder, whatever. Like these matter, but you know, they're the things that aren't on your list, like demand your attention right now. So like, well, now you don't have to, you know, you don't have to get your shots called for you because you're trying to go after those things. It's like, no, these are what matter to me right now. And then you can write that out as like a priority statement where it's like, all right, my priorities are, my top 3 for this season for right now are 1, 2, 3. Everything I say yes to must support these. Everything that gets, you know, a thoughtful no or not right now aligns with these things. And that's how you kind of take that to the next level. You know, you make it almost like a physical top 3 card that you can put in your wallet or you know, take a screenshot, put it on your lock screen of your phone. Like, you know, you look down at your phone a dozen times a day, or when you're driving, if you got it up near your dash, like then you can see those things. Like, this is what I'm making my decisions off of. Because without any sort of clarity, you're going to keep spending your days reacting instead of choosing, pouring energy into things that don't even matter, that drain you, that are starving the life out of you. But when you have those top 3, decisions are easier. You know, guilt feels lighter. Energy stops leaking out. You know, your life starts matching your values, not your obligations. That's where the moments where you can actually start making, not just December, but moving forward, like you start living your own life. And that takes us into the second area, which is the actual clarity compass. We're going to create that for you. So you turn those top 3 into your decision filter so that you can say, you know, stop saying yes to everything that comes along your way. You know, you get your 3 and it's like, well, how do we use them in real life? Because right now, like if you're like most of, you know, parents, entrepreneurs, or employees like that I talk to, every new request hits you the same way. Like, I could do that. I probably should do that. You know, and honestly, I don't know if I have the energy for that. And then you say yes anyways. Like, we just do that. That's who we are. And so this is about changing that sort of idea. Like, we're going to take these top 3 priorities and make a simple decision filter, that quick check to be like, okay, hold on. What was that request? Is it, you know, am I doing everything from scratch? Is it going to burn my mental energy? Is it, you know, am I just feeling guilty no matter what I choose? Like, what, like, instead of, you know, carrying your priorities around in your head, you get to create the simple visual compass that makes it easy to say yes, like without being selfish or dramatic, you know, just really clear. So here's what I want you to do. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a simple compass. You grab a piece of paper, a whiteboard, whatever, your iPad, like, and you're going to draw a triangle, you know, or 3 arrows, you know, one pointing up, one pointing, yeah, we'll say one up, one left, one right. Okay. No art skills needed, just like a visual reminder. Now, these are the only 3 directions I'm allowed to go, you know, like that I'm allowed to take myself this season. That's what you're going to focus on. And then you write what your non-negotiables are. So like if the one pointing up is priority number 1, principle number 1, the focus is like, what's number 1? Well, my kids and family. Okay, well, what's to the left? My health. What's to the right? My business. And that's it. That's now your compass. And then you put the question like in the center of it where it's like, does this serve my top 3? So now you've got your 3, my family, my health, my business. Does it serve my top 3? And then whenever something new shows up, an invitation, an opportunity, an obligation, quick favors, a committee, an extra project, whatever, like this question goes and says, hold on a second, let's go find the answer. You're buying yourself space to respond instead of react. And then you decide what, serve actually means. This is where your compass stops being vague and starts being practical. Under each of those priorities, maybe write 2 to 3 examples of what, genuinely serves that area. So family is served by being present at dinner time, one-on-one time weekly with each kid, weekend memories that don't require you to be a cruise director of some kind. Your business is served by work that builds sustainable income and real impact, conversations or networking that lead to meaningful opportunities, skills or systems that might make work lighter long term. Your health is served by moving your body several times a week, sleep that's not constantly sacrificed, therapy or journaling or processing time when it's needed. You basically write yourself a quick cheat sheet so that there's no guessing later. And then you build in the decision filter as a part of that. This is where your process, any new request, it's you pause for the answer. Even if it's 5-10 seconds is enough, but don't auto say yes to things. Just check it against your compass. Which of my 3 priorities does this clearly serve? You use the examples you wrote down. If it serves 2 to 3 priorities, hey, that's a strong yes. If it serves 1, maybe yes. If it serves none, then you should say no. And if you have a twist of knots, or you're trying to justify it, probably a no as well. And then respond to that sort of request with clarity, not guilt. You might say hey, thanks for thinking of me, but I'm protecting a few key priorities this month, so I'm gonna need to pass. Hey, sounds great, but that doesn't fit what I'm focused on right this moment. Hey, I'd love to revisit that in January. Right now, my plate's full with these 3 things that I'm focused on. And again, you're not rejecting people, you're just protecting what matters. Then you can go through and run your current week through that filter. If you make it real, open your calendar for the next, this week or the next week, and look at every commitment. Which of my 3 does it serve? Make a list. This aligns with my, with where I'm at. It serves my compass. This is misaligned. What are those things on there? These are candidates to either cancel or delegate or shorten or try not to repeat in the future. Because you may not be able to change everything in that week, but that's okay. As long as you start making those impactful changes towards that thing. And then once again, make this thing visible. Put it, if it's just in your head or a notebook, that you're never going to open, it doesn't do anything. So that phone wallpaper, the mirror in your, bathroom, the fridge, keep it on your desk, whatever, in your weekly planner, keep it. The goal is that when requests come in, you're not digging around to remember what your priorities are. You literally have them in front of your face. And then you could really ramp it up by telling someone you trust and being hey, I'm reading how I spend my time, and I pick these 3 things I want to commit and protect this month. And you tell them what they are. And hey, I'm going to use a filter for decisions. And I'd love your support. I want you to know, why I might start saying no to more things. And usually what happens is that they're hey, they say hey, they get it, and they start helping you protect it along with you, or they say okay, and move forward. Whatever. You just get clarity from doing that because you're setting a real boundary. You already have so many decisions to make every single day. Most of the studies out there put we have tens of thousands of decisions we're making all the time. And without a filter, every email, text, invite, or opportunity feels like brand new, moral drama, what we should do. That's where the exhaustion comes from. When you turn your top 3 into simple and visual decision filter, I don't have to evaluate every request or feel bad for saying no to protect myself. I can make decisions faster and cleaner with less guilt. I can protect time with my kids or my health or the work I'm doing, my marriage, your calling. You can do these things on purpose. Once again, you're not doing less. You're just finally living your time and energy matter. And that takes us into the 3rd area, which is using your filter in real life, when everyone else wants a yes. Because if we're honest, the one thing that you have in your 3 priorities you haven't written down, it's another thing to remember them. That text when it comes in, hey, could you help me with? Or the email is hey, we need another volunteer. Or family group chat that decides you're in charge of something you didn't agree to. And so the principle, this idea in real life is the invitations, obligations, the quick favors, they come in, and they come in droves during the month of December. It creates actual chaos in your life. And so that's how we practice the decision filter in the wild, not just a theory, not just in your journal, but actually put it to place. The goal isn't to become cold or selfish. The goal is to make sure that your yes actually means something again, and your no serves people and the priorities that you care about the most. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to list your real decisions, not hypothetical one, that you have to make. You grab a notebook, your notes app, and write down every request or invitation or expectation that's either already on your plate, sitting in your inbox, or very likely to show up over the next week or so. Things like neighborhood cookie exchange, office holiday party, can you grab a gift for, volunteer for this event, extra project, another school thing, coffee catch up with a friend, extended family get-togethers, the pressure to feel like you need to do something on social media. Like, these are your practice reps. These are where your new filter gets installed. You know, you run through each one through your filter, and you're like, okay, well, if I look at it and I say the same question, which of these supports my, like, how does it support my 3 priorities? Like, if it does, like, be honest, like, don't stretch it to make it fit. You know, neighborhood cookie exchange or whatever. It's like, well, my kids and family, maybe, but like, they don't really care about the cookie thing, and it makes the night feel chaotic. You know, does it serve work or business? No. Does it serve health or rest? No. Doesn't clearly serve my things. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. You know, the one-on-one time with, you know, each kid every weekend. Does it serve my family? Yeah, deeply. Does it serve my business? No. Health or heart? Yeah, I mean, it kind of fills you up with energy. So like, hey, serves 2 of 3. That's a strong yes. You just put each of those through your filters. Then you sort them into buckets. So you've got things where it's like a clearly yes, you know, things on your, you know, that you're committed to. You've got the maybes, and you've got the clearly no's. Clearly yes, it's like, all right, well, I've got my one-on-one time with kids, or therapy session, or workout, that simple family night that you wanted. You know, the maybe is like, hey, that extra project that supports my career priority, or single holiday party that genuinely helps you connect. And the no is like that cookie exchange, being on yet another committee, doing that gift for every extended relative because it's what we've done. Like, you're probably going to be surprised how many things that like land in that clearly no bucket that you already have on your list. And then you just practice out, you know, make sure you practice saying the no's out loud. Because most people get stuck, like, their brain understands the no, but like their body still panics in that moment when they get asked. And so it's really simple. Like, you use a simple, kind language that honors your priorities without over explaining. Like, once again, it's things like I mentioned in one of the earlier priorities. Hey, thanks so much for thinking of me, but I'm being really intentional with my time this December, so I'm going to have to pass. Hey, I care about this, but my plate is really full with a few priorities I have right now. You know, I can't really add anything more this season. Hey, that sounds like so much fun, but I'm protecting some family time in the evening, so like, I'm gonna have to sit this one out. And you can plug them in, like, think about it in real scenarios. It's like, okay, well, will you chair that PTA committee? Like, hey, I appreciate you thinking of me, but like, during this, I've got other priorities during this season, my kids and my health, my work capacity, so like, I have to pass on that. You know, the cookie exchange, like, hey, thanks for inviting me. I'm being really intentional about my commitments and being present with my family. So like, I'm going to sit this one out, but I hope you guys have a great time with that. You know, and say it out loud. Like, and trust me, when you say it out loud, even if you say it to yourself, like, the first time it's going to feel awkward. That's normal. Like, because you're developing the new muscle that you're setting those boundaries. And then you start to treat the things that you do say yes about like it matters. The things that are clearly yes, like in that bucket, here's the key. If it's a yes, it's a full yes. It's not, I'm going to be half present. No resentment. No, I mean, I should have said no. Like, internal monologue. Like, it's like, no, I just, like, you decide this supports your lane and you act like it. Family dinner is a yes, then I'm going to be there. Phone put away. If gym is a yes, then I'm going to show up and actually move my body, not scroll through things. If it's a holiday gathering that I said yes to, then I'm going to enjoy it instead of feeling bad about all the things that you're not doing. You know, this is how you show your priorities that, like, hey, these, they're not just words on page. I'm actually living the experience of them. You know, maybe even keeping a decision log where it's like, okay, hold on, what was the request I had? How did I filter it through my compass? What was the decision I made? And how did I feel afterwards? I felt guilty, clear, relieved, annoyed. Like, just tracking those sort of things, like, it does 2 things. It keeps you honest. You're going to see how you actually are using your filter, and it reveals patterns about, like, where guilt shows up the loudest and where you tend to cave in for people. That awareness, like, it gets you out of the habit as a part of that. I mean, you already know what matters. That's not the issue. The real battle is those 5 to 10 seconds between when someone asks you for something and you hearing yourself be like, yeah, I can do that. And you're like, why did I say yes to that? So let's turn off the automatic yes and make it an intentional choice. Turn off if I feel selfish if I say no, to like, no, I'm protecting what I already have, what's important to me. You know, every no doesn't align with these 3 things. You know, the deeper, you know, yes with your kids, your health, your marriage, your calling, you're saying, like, that's what we're focused on. You start living that way, like, December stops feeling like something you have to survive and starts looking way more like the month that you could actually be present for. And then the 4th area you want to focus on is stay in your lane. Like, this is a practice you have to do, how you notice when you're drifting and gently pulling yourself back as a part of that. Because you will drift, and people may not admit that, but you will. You'll have weeks where your calendar doesn't look like it matches your priorities. You know, you'll say yes to something that you should have said no, and you're like, sure, I can help, you know, in the moment of guilt or whatever. Like, staying in your lane isn't a one-time decision. It's a practice. That's a whole concept. Like, why, when I talk about the giver method, it's a method. It's not like a solution or like the form. Like, it's like, no, this is the method you're going to keep following throughout your life. Once again, it's a practice. We don't want you to have shame about this. It's like, you know, no, like, hey, I guess I'm just bad with boundaries or whatever. It's like, no, just awareness and resets. That's what your life is going to be about constantly as you continue to evolve. And so here's what I want you to do. Step 1, you have to know your swerving signals. You know, you have to define what the drift looks like for you. Are you constantly, you know, overwhelmed, even on days where nothing big happened? You know, you snap your kids, your spouse, your coworker, you know, over small things. Or maybe you can't remember the last time you did something that you actually served someone, you know, or served one of your top 3 priorities. You know, you're exhausted, but like rest doesn't actually fix it. You feel this, I don't know, low-key resentfulness to your calendar, or you keep saying yes while your stomach is still saying like, please don't. Like, whatever it is, write the sentence like, okay, well, hold on. I know I'm swerving when, and you write out like 3 to 5 personal warning light signals. Like, those are like dashboard indicators for you to be like, hold on a second, you're swerving a little bit. And the second thing you do is you do like a 10-minute weekly lane check. You just like, each week set a time. You pick a time one morning during the week. Maybe it's Sunday, you know, maybe it's a Monday morning before coffee, whatever. Like, you know, you make this like a standing meeting with yourself where you're going to go through a couple of questions. You can ask yourself like, hey, did I spend meaningful time on each of my 3 priorities? You know, whatever they are, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, like yes, no, or barely. And then like, what did I say yes to that I didn't serve any of my 3? And be honest, like, once again, we're not shaming, we're just noticing what they are. You know, then ask yourself, am I seeing any patterns that are showing up here? Overwhelm, snapping, resentment, like what are the warning signs? Am I seeing any of them start to pop up? And then what needs to change about the coming week to bring me back into my lane? I need to cancel this thing, shorten that thing, block off time for blank, like whatever. If you put this on your calendar where it's like you have this 10-minute check-in, it's a recurring event, and you treat it like it's your future self, like it matters so much. Like, that's going to change things. So then at that point, you can use, you can actually recognize what those are, and you can actually like find yourself the ability to have like your, I'm drifting out of my lane, like correction, you know, process or system. You know, but weekly check shows you're off, you don't spiral. Then you just do a little reset. You know, you got a little reset routine you're going to do. Okay, well, what pulled you off? Like, figure out what that thing is. Decide like what to release. You know, can I cancel it, delegate it, postpone it, whatever. Like, and be more ruthless, you know, then feels comfortable with that. Block time on your calendar for your priorities. Like, if each of your 3, like, picks time during the week where it's like, how do I do that? How do I make it show up? Like if it was a doctor's appointment. And then communicate the shift. Like, send a text, an email, a conversation. Like, hey, I think I've overcommitted and I need to step back from blank so that I can protect a few of my core priorities this month. Like, just make sure you get the message out there to the individuals that are around you. And then, like, you're going to recommit to the thing. Like, literally say your priorities out loud. Hey, I've drifted. Yeah, I'm off a bit here. Yeah, and these priorities, they still matter, so I'm choosing to get back into my lane. Once again, it isn't about being perfect. It's about shortening the time between like I'm off and I'm back on the track or the lane that I'm supposed to be in. And then step 4, like big thing, like if you can like recruit 1 or 2 people who can be like your lane supporters. You know, you don't have to be the only one watching your lane. If you pick a couple people that like who love you enough to be honest, you know, a spouse, a close friend, maybe a trusted coworker, that's like, hey, you know, I've chosen these priorities I'm protecting right now. You know, and I know I tend to take on too much. So if you notice me getting scattered, will you gently be like, hey, does this serve your 3? You know, if you're then like your spouse notices you're working late, or your friend hears you say yes to things that, you know, on a phone call, or your coworker sees you volunteering for a project that doesn't match what you said. Like, let them, you know, notice those drifts as well and be like your alert system as well. And then you redirect, like just using, you know, simple statements like, okay, I've drifted. Someone's called me out, like whatever, like you don't have to, you know, we basically like, how do I get back in line? How do I snap back into where I need to be intentionally? And so like there, you could just say things out loud like, hey, I've got a little off course. My top 3 priorities are blank, and I'm going to let go of whatever that commitment is so that I can get back to what actually matters. And you say it to yourself when you're checking. You say it to your spouse when you're examining why you cancel. You say it to your friend or a leader when you're stepping back from a commitment. Like it's calm and honest. It's not dramatic. It's just it realigns you as a part of that. If you start to notice as well, like you're going to have these very specific swerving temptations that will bubble up, Saying yes to things that, sound impressive but drain you. Volunteering, because you feel guilty, not because you feel called to do it. Overwork, because it rest feels unproductive, whatever. Like, finish a sentence like, hey, I'm most tempted to swerve when, and you list out what those situations are. Like, then you can start to ground these things. And then, once again, you just have to find the ways you ground it back, where each morning you look at your top 3 and you ask, like, what's the small thing I can do today that honors at least one of these? And then actually go do it. Weekly, in your planner, your calendar, like, how do they align with my priorities? Like, as look at my commitments, like, do I need to pause and check, like, does this belong in my week, or maybe do I need to change that? And then monthly, every month, like, start the month, like, okay, last month, did I actually live the 3 things that mattered the most to me? And what shifts do I need to make this month? And then you choose something and you just start to put it on repeat. You didn't build the whole compass just to feel bad the first time it gets messy. So, like, this practice, it helps to normalize, like, hey, there's a drift, it's going to happen, but we got this clear dashboard, this clear way to be like, let me get back on track. Every time you notice that you're swerving, and then choose, like, hey, I'm coming back to my 3 priorities, like, you're proving to yourself that your priorities aren't just nice ideas, but worth protecting as a part of that. Now, as we wrap up today's video, just take a deep breath for a second. Day 7 stuff, it's a shift. Like, we're getting out of that first mode, and now we're looking into our priorities, not because you're doing something dramatic, but because, like, you're getting clear on things. You name what actually matters to you. Like, those turn into your priorities, into, like, they take the priorities and turn them into the compass that you can see. You practice, like, what it's like to say yes with intention, no with intention, without any sort of guilt associated with it. And you notice, like, how to notice your drift and how to correct that. This is just the beginning of the priority phase. Yesterday was all about that inner clarity. Today we're about that outer alignment. And that combination helps you stop swerving. Before you move on with your day, do one thing for yourself. Look at your top 3 priorities and say them out loud. These are my non-negotiables. This is my lane, and I'm choosing to build my life around that. And the moment that you, like, speak that, it anchors this whole practice for you. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to dive deeper into those concepts or what that looks like, then go use the link in the description, or go on Amazon, get yourself a copy of The Giver Method while it's on sale. Check out thegivermethod.com for the free resources. Follow us on the social medias. And then, hey, we got those coaching options on our website. We got the newsletter. We got all these fun ways we could work with you. We could bring this message to your team, your stage, your podcast, your audience. Like, check out that link down below. Make sure you've done the YouTube things. Tap the bell for notifications. Subscribe. Like it. List out maybe what's one of your 3 non-negotiables. What are you taking ownership in? How are you going to take ownership in your lane today? Now, tomorrow's day 8, and we're stepping into, like, the idea of the energy audit. Today's it's clear on what matters. Tomorrow it's figuring out, like, how you can actually give, get the capacity that you can give, and what's quietly draining the life out of you. Like, clarity plus capacity. That's how December stops running you, and you start running your days with more intention. So I will see you tomorrow in the video. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. Remember, staying in your lane isn't selfish. It's how you finally move forward with purpose and make the impact that only you can make. Feel free to check out the other videos on the channel and check us out on all our social media channels. Like I said, have a great rest of your day. We'll catch you in our next video.